Hello friend, welcome back to my kitchen. I have something really exciting to share with you that has been kind of years in the making, I would say, something that I've wanted to have happen and I just was never able to make it work until about a week ago. I have right here on my kitchen island 15 chickens that I had the opportunity to participate in the harvesting process and the butchering process. So getting them from a chicken into chicken parts. So if you're new around here, my name is Becky, welcome to my kitchen, and something I am passionate about is buying locally sourced food whenever possible. Not at all always possible. You're gonna see that I ended up picking some stuff through Azure Standard today, but one thing I have been able to do for the last about 8 years is almost all the beef that we buy is from a local farmer where I purchase a half a cow every about 2 years. And I have a really good source for pasture-raised pork. So pork and beef, I don't buy at the grocery store very often because I've got a great source. And I have a very big garden. So I produce a lot of produce throughout the spring, summer, and fall that we can enjoy fresh. And then I put up a lot of it through canning and freeze drying and dehydrating and freezing. And so one thing that I've never been able to find a very good source, and I shouldn't say that, there are a couple really good pasture poultry farmers in my area, and I do purchase from them whole chickens when I need whole chickens on occasion, and I do purchase from them chicken backs. So when they break the chickens down into their parts, you can actually purchase the backs, and I actually buy those quite often, and I make bone broth out of that, and then I put that up and I can use that bone broth throughout my cooking. But what I had not been able to find is a good source for chicken in chicken parts until recently, and I'm so excited about this. So we get the question, do we ever want to raise our own pork or beef or chicken on our property? And currently we have no plans for that. And maybe one day we'll do chicken because I had the opportunity to experience it. And so maybe that's something that we'll be able to do. But right now, I have a really good source for pork, a really good source for beef, and potentially now I'm building a relationship with someone where I can have a really good source for chicken. So how did this come about that I was able to find a local producer where I could affordably get chicken in chicken parts in my freezer? Well, like I mentioned, we do have local pasture-raised farmers in our area, and I have never purchased from them a chicken breast package or a chicken thigh package because the price per pound is just out of my budget. And so that's why when I have purchased pasture-raised chickens, I have purchased the whole bird, and that way it's cheaper per pound and I can use the entire bird for, roasting and then eating that and then turning the rest of the chicken into another meal and then taking the bones and turning that into broth. And I can kind of stretch my dollar that way. But the price per pound for a package of pasture-raised chicken breast was just out of my budget. So that's why I've never done it. And you've seen, even now, I have Costco chicken in my freezer, but I'm really excited to fill my freezer with this chicken. So last fall, one of the pasture farmers who I've bought chickens from in the past had Joel Salatin come and he spoke. If you don't know who he is a very well-known, he's kind of the pioneer for pastured poultry, pasture farming in general. So grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and trying to change the way that the standard system of raising meat in our country is done. He's kind of pioneering the pasture raised. And so we had the opportunity to go listen to him, and then they served us a really nice dinner. And while we were there, we ran into the children's pastor at my parents' church, and they have quite a bit of acreage. And we were talking, and I was talking to her about, maybe one day we would want to do chickens because we just don't have a very good source for chicken broken down into pieces in the way that I cook with them. And she and her husband raise pork, they raise beef, they have a dairy cow, and they have done chickens many, many times. And so she said, hey, I'll grow out chickens for you if you want, and then you can come and help during the processing day and taking those chickens and turning them into chicken pieces. We could have either kept them whole or actually broken them down into their pieces. And I said, I would love to help you. So she raised the chickens on her pasture. They moved them throughout grass. They lived outside. They fed them a very clean, healthy diet. They ate grass. They spent time in the sunshine. And then about 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to her house and help her and her husband process 25 chickens. Now, her husband did the actual dispatching of the chickens and he plucked them. So there's kind of two sides. Now, this was the first time I had done it. And so I'm just gonna kind of walk you through. I took a couple pictures, but I'm just gonna kind of walk you through or tell you the process of what happened on that day. So this was the first time I had ever done this. I showed up to her house. It was about 8 in the morning and they had everything set up. We got everything cleaned one last time before we started, and her husband dispatched the chickens and defeathered the chickens. And then the chickens came, the wife and I, and she taught me how to break the chicken down and actually gut the chicken and get it into what basically a chicken looks like when you buy a whole chicken at the grocery store. And then we put that in ice, and we did all 25 of them to where they were whole birds. And then we cleaned up the whole outside area because all that happened outside. We put them on ice in a cooler, and then we brought them into her house after we cleaned up outside. And then we took those whole chickens and we broke them down into parts. It was really interesting talking to her. Now, she has been raising poultry for her family for, I think, 2 years now. And she is just starting to break them down into parts. She used to, because the process is a little overwhelming, especially when you don't have someone walking you through the process like she was walking me through the process. It didn't seem as overwhelming watching someone do it in person than I could imagine them, her and her husband just diving right in and learning how to do it on their own. And so what she did when she first started raising her own poultry is she would put them into her freezer whole like this, and then she would roast them or put them into the Instant Pot whole, and then she would take the meat off and turn it into, they would have like a whole roast chicken, take the excess meat, turn that into like enchiladas or whatever you would want pre-cooked chicken for. But I told her that I would love to help her break down the chickens into their respective parts, because I am more likely to want to go to my freezer and pull out chicken breasts and cook with them than always wanting to start with a whole chicken. So we, on this day, did 25 birds. Once we brought those whole 25 birds into her house, her and I spent about 3 hours parting those chickens or butchering those chickens down into their respective parts. And I have gotten really good at it. After you do about, we did 25 birds, so we each did about, well, she did maybe one more than I did, but you know, we were kind of one-on-one, just doing one chicken at a time. We got pretty good at it. And so it was really cool that we were able to spend time together doing that. And I was able to, I did pay them for these chickens. And it's kind of cool that I was able to give my money to someone who is a local person instead of, you know, like Costco or whatever it might be. Now, you will see when we go down, because we're gonna go put these and we're gonna do some organizing in our deep freezer downstairs, that I still have chicken from Costco. This is not a year's worth of chicken. She asked me how many chickens I wanted, and I said 15. I just pulled that number out of a hat and was like, that sounds like a good number of chickens. And so we'll see how far this goes. I'm gonna show you all the things we got out of those 15 birds. And she might be actually raising some turkeys that I could help her harvest, and then maybe we could have some pasture-raised turkey for Thanksgiving. But what I got from these 15 birds is quite a lot. So I decided to keep 2 whole, because so I have 1 whole chicken here and 1 whole chicken here, because I thought it would be fun to have some whole chickens, because I don't have any of those in my freezer, and do some fun recipes with those. And then the rest of them, we broke them down. So what we've got over here, and the cool thing is when you do this yourself, you can decide how you want them broken down. Oh, I do want to mention, after we took these chickens and broke them down into their different parts, so chicken breast, chicken thighs, chicken wings, and things like that, I brought them home to my house, and they had to sit in the refrigerator for 2 to 3 days before I then threw them in the freezer. So when I got them to my house, Josh and I actually vacuum sealed them into these bags so that they were in packages that I thought would be good for a dinner for Josh and I. And I have some different kind of cuts here than I would normally get at the store, and so I think that is kind of cool. So I have, in most of these, there is anywhere from 4 chicken breast to 3 chicken breasts. The ones that were really big, this one has 3. These chicken breasts were a little bit smaller, so I have 4. And these ones I only had 2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 packages of chicken breast where it's boneless, skinless chicken breast. And that is really easy to work with. I can do whatever I'd want to with chicken breast with these. And then I thought it would be fun to keep some of the chicken skin on some of these chicken breasts. So I've got 1, 2, 3 packages of 2 chicken breast where I left the skin on, and I want to play around with some fun recipes with pan frying these and making a really good chicken dinner where we pan fry them, we get that skin really crispy, and then we make a yummy pan sauce. And so that's what I was thinking with those. And the cool thing is when you butcher them yourself, you can decide what you want. And then over here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 packages of chicken thighs, and those have at least 6 chicken thighs in each one, and these are boneless chicken thighs, but I left the skin on. I'm actually having a dinner party here at our house with my sister's in town from out of town, and my aunt and uncle are in town from out of town, and my parents are gonna come over, and I just harvested all of our garlic today, and so we are gonna have a garlic theme dinner party, and I am going to use some of these chicken thighs for the recipe that we're gonna be making. This vacuum seal bag did not seal all the way, so I'm actually gonna pop this into my refrigerator, and I think I'm gonna have 2 packages that from right now I'm gonna put into my refrigerator, and we are gonna make dinner with those. But the cool thing is I decided to have these be boneless, but I wanted the skin on. I don't even think I can get a boneless chicken thigh with the skin on at the grocery store. If I want the skin on the chicken, then I need to get the bone. So what we did is we went through the effort on all 25 of those birds to remove the bone, but we kept the chicken skin because we like crispy chicken skin around here. We absolutely did not waste those chicken thigh bones. I put those in this package, and I'm gonna make bone broth out of these at some point. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 packages of chicken backs. So after we removed all the parts from the chicken, you're left with the chicken backs, and these I have purchased from my pasture-raised poultry farmer in my area and make bone broth with this. But I'm gonna do something a little different with this than what I've done with you in the past. So we are gonna roast these chicken backs in the oven with seasoning, get them really, really flavorful, and then we're gonna turn them into chicken broth. We're not gonna do that today or tomorrow. These are gonna go in the freezer, and at some point in the next time, I have big plans for these chicken backs, and I'm really looking forward to it to try to get the most flavorful broth we can get out of these chicken backs. And there is still a lot of chicken left on these chicken backs. So when I cook these, I will remove that chicken, and I can use that chicken in enchiladas or chicken noodle soup or chicken pot pie or whatever it might be. So we're not gonna have any parts of these chickens go to waste. So over here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 packages of chicken wings. So probably around the holidays, I'll pull these out and we'll make some appetizers with that. And then I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 packages of chicken drumsticks with the skin and bone on. And I think what I'm gonna do is you can see the size difference. Some of the chickens were a little bit smaller and some were a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna have 12 people for this dinner party. So I'm going to have 4 chicken drumsticks, and so that's 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 pieces of chicken. I'm gonna have a lot of other sides. This is what the protein I'm gonna make for that dinner party right here, and I'll throw this in my fridge right now. I also got a bag of chicken feet, and my goal is to try to use as much of that bird as possible. My friend who raised these chickens, her and her husband put a lot of effort and time into this, and I want to try to be a good steward of these chickens, and I want to try to use every single part that I can. So those chicken feet are going to turn into, I'm gonna freeze dry a bunch of them and turn them into dog treats. I think I can do that. I will do research. And I also can use those as a collagen booster in my broth. Another thing that I have in my freezer already, this is a whole tray of chicken hearts. So they didn't want the chicken hearts, so I took them. I put them in my freezer and I'm gonna freeze dry these and I'm gonna make them into dog treats. And then I have one whole tray of chicken livers. She wanted half the chicken livers and I took the other half of chicken livers. And I'm gonna freeze dry these into dog treats as well. I am not a fan of eating chicken livers or chicken hearts, but my dogs certainly are. And so a way to try to use every part of the bird is to freeze dry it and turn it into a dog treat. I actually got a question when we were doing a live not that long ago, do I make my own dog food? And I don't make my own dog food, but I do freeze dry all the organs that I get when I purchase hogs or cows and now chickens. And I give that to my dogs and they love it. They absolutely love it. They get some form of organ meat every day. And I forgot about that when we were in the live, but that is one way that I can try to maximize my food dollars as well. Because when you purchase, at least in my area, when I purchase a half a cow or a whole hog or a half a hog, if I don't take those livers and the organ meat, then the butcher just tosses them. And so it's a way that I paid for them. So instead of them tossing them, I can take them home and turn them into something my dogs can eat, which I really like. So now I've cleaned out an area in my freezer downstairs. I wanna get all this back in my freezer. This was already frozen. It did sit in my refrigerator for, I think it was 3 days before I went ahead and threw this in the freezer. But I pulled it out to show you, and now we need to put it back in, and I'm gonna organize it when we get it in the freezer this time into its different parts. So I have these hard-sided totes that I like to organize my deep freezers. One thing is I store all of the meat that I buy from local farmers and even the meat that I get at my grocery store, well, most of it, I should say, in my deep freezers because it's a safer way to store my meat than in an upright freezer. Growing up, I think I remember 2 or 3 times us losing the contents of our freezer. And I really don't want that to happen with the meat that I buy either from the grocery store or from local farmers because it's a big investment. And so a way to keep my chest freezer organized is with these hard-sided totes. I got these on Amazon. I can link them down below. I've also have this one that I got from my local grocery store. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all the chicken breasts in one bag. I have some chicken down in my deep freezer that needs to be organized, so I'm gonna hopefully have enough space that I can put chicken breasts that I have from the store in this tote as well. I'm gonna try to put the chicken breast with the skin on next to the chicken breast with the skin on, and just the boneless, skinless chicken breast together. So that's one whole tote full. In this tote, I'm gonna go ahead and get my drumsticks in here. I have some other projects pulled out that after I get all this put away and my freezer organized, we're gonna come up and finish another couple projects that I have started. I'm also gonna go ahead and get my chicken thighs in here because they fit. Actually, nope, I know I have chicken thighs in my downstairs freezer, so this tote is going to be chicken drumsticks and chicken wings. Because I don't have any chicken wings or chicken drumsticks in my freezer. And then this tote, even though it's not gonna have very much in it, it will when I go downstairs because I have more. I'm gonna go ahead and get my chicken thighs in here. And then over there, let's see. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put as much of my broth making chicken backs and my chicken thigh bones in here. I'm really excited about this way I'm gonna make this broth this next time. I think it's gonna be delicious. And then I can leave these 2 whole chickens just in the deep freezer. So let me take all these downstairs and then we'll go organize these in the deep freezer, and we've got some fun projects to do up here. I'm just so excited about building this relationship with this couple because if they will let me, I will absolutely do this again with them where I can purchase these chickens and then from them help them butcher them and help them process them and help them process not only mine, but also help them process their chickens too. So she basically got the same thing because, well, this is 15 birds for me and she had 10 birds. And we just spent a few hours talking. We're both passionate about, food, and it was fun to, make a new friend and spend time doing something that's gonna benefit our families. So into the freezer these go. So I know processing chickens might not be for everyone. This is just something that I, as a meat eater, have always wanted to experience, to be able to understand the whole process of what it takes to, get a chicken onto my dinner table. And so it was a pretty profound and incredible experience. It wasn't fun, I would say. It was awesome to build that relationship and build community with someone who is passionate about high quality food as well. But it was definitely a good experience, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to have that experience. And if they want to have me to their home again, or I have the opportunity to have them raise chickens for me, I would take them up on that opportunity, because it is a much more affordable way for me to get pasture raised chicken into my family's freezer. So here is a look at my freezer. This freezer is mostly for pork and chicken. I do have a big bag of whole wheat flour. I keep my whole wheat flour in the freezer to keep it fresh longer. I didn't realize I bought whole wheat. I would not have bought a big bag like that if I realized I was buying whole wheat, just because I like to buy smaller quantities of that because it doesn't stay as fresh as long. So what I'm doing is keeping that in the freezer until I go to use it. So here is my box of chicken that I got at the store. And what I'm gonna do is organize this chicken into these bags that I have here. So what I think I'm gonna put on the bottom are my chicken backs, because I'm not gonna be processing those today or tomorrow because garden season is in full swing. And I'm probably gonna focus on garden produce that's coming in before I get back to these chicken backs. But I only have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 jars of chicken broth. So when I run out of chicken broth, I'll have to process those chicken backs. So let's see. This is chicken thighs. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and put any of these chicken thighs that I have in here. I do have a bunch of marinated meats that I keep in my upstairs garage freezer. So these freezers are for just meat that I haven't done anything with, or produce or anything I haven't done anything with. Once I've made them into a freezer meal, then they go into the freezer upstairs. These are chicken breasts and these are chicken thighs. So I can get rid of this box in this freezer. Oh, there's one more thing in there. So I can get rid of this box in this freezer now. And I think I'm gonna put these whole chicken breasts, or chickens, these whole chickens right here. Just so you know how my brain works, this is the sausage that I'm going through first, because this was not the last hog I bought, but the one before. The last hog I got is in here and in here. I also keep in this freezer and in all my freezers an alarm. This right here tells me what temperature this freezer is. This freezer is -13 degrees right now. And if it gets up to, I think if it's even around 0, then it starts an alarm. And I keep it at the bottom of the freezer because that's the coldest part of the freezer. And so I want to know what temperature this freezer is at all times. We have had freezers die on us, and we knew about it in time, so we were able to fix it without losing everything. Okay, so this is my chicken drumsticks and my chicken wings. I'm gonna go ahead and get this right here. I'm probably not gonna pull from that until the holiday season, so I'm actually gonna put that on the bottom just because I'm not gonna use that as often. And what I will use the absolute most are chicken thighs and chicken breasts, so I want those closer to the top. And this is why I like these totes, because when I need to get to something underneath this tote, I can pick the whole tote up and I'm not digging around loose items in the freezer. So just speaking of that, I am actually gonna set my chicken breast here just because they're in these packaging. They will sit nicely right there. And then these ones I'll go ahead and put in my chicken breast tote. And the last chicken breast right in there. So this freezer is now full and I'm really excited about it. I don't need to buy pork for probably a year to a year and a half. And we've got a good amount of chicken in here, so that's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this one. So I can show you what is in my other freezer. This freezer is typically mostly beef. There is some pork products in here. My sister gave me a rack of ribs that I need to make at some point. Here's some organ meat. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take this out. This is some pork organ meat. And when I freeze dry the chicken organs, I'm gonna go ahead and freeze dry this for my dogs as well. And let's see, what is this? Heart. I'm gonna go ahead and thaw that so that I can freeze dry that. Tenderloin, roast. Okay, so there's a little bit of pork in here, but not too much. I only have about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 pounds of ground beef left. Lots of lard and tallow that I rendered and is frozen and I can use it later. I have some pasties. I kind of forgot that I had these pasties. So every week I'm pulling 2 out and we're trying to go through these. These are delicious. I made them with homegrown carrots and potatoes and beef, and they're just so good. And then over here, you can see what I have left of the beef. I've got a couple roasts and absolutely no steaks. And so I have a half a cow on the way. And then I have a little bit more bacon over here. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this. I do have one more thing I could show you. So in this freezer, I'm gonna come down and clean this when I'm done showing you this. I have, oh, well, let me open it because I just opened it. Underneath here, I have, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this one-handed, but I have a huge 2 bags. That whole tote and that bag underneath it is full of lard. Not the last time, but the time before when I ordered a whole hog. The hog that I ordered was a cooney, which is known to be a lard pig. That's what they were bred for. And I have a lot of lard from that pig. So at some point I need to render that. I took a day, probably, I think it was in the winter, where I rendered half of it, and it was a huge project. And at some point I need to render the other half and get that into jars so that I can use it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean this because we had some work done on our furnace. And so I'm gonna clean this because I think it got dusty in that process. Yep, I think it needed to be cleaned. Well, that felt good to get that cleaning project done. It was not on my list, but I'm glad to get it done. So I'm gonna let these thaw, and then I will get these on freeze dryer trays and into my freeze dryer. And I can freeze dry these the same time I am freeze drying the chicken hearts and chicken livers. So I did put those pieces of chicken that we're gonna have for our dinner party in here, and those are thawing for me. I have a freeze dryer project going right now that I started this morning. I got an Azure haul a couple days ago, and I'm gonna share with you my Azure haul. Actually, I think it was like a week and a half ago now. My nephews are in town, the ones that I'm having for this dinner party, and every Christmas and their birthday, they ask me to freeze dry fruit for them, and I usually ship it to them. Or if my parents are going to see my sister, they'll package it with them in their suitcases. Well, they're in town. It's not their birthday or Christmas, but I figured as a surprise, when they come over, I want to have a bunch of freeze-dried fruit for them to take home. Azure is sponsoring today's video. You all know that I've been buying from Azure for 3.5 years now, I think. And because I've been sharing them with you, they want to be a sponsor of this video. So I'm very honored because I love their company. I love what they stand for. And one thing I do buy quite regularly from them is frozen fruit. The reason I like this is because if I'm gonna freeze dry fruit, if I'm not getting it from a local farmer, or I'm growing it on my own property, like I freeze dried a bunch of apples that we grew from our orchard, then I can buy it already frozen. So that saves a step for my freeze dryer. And I can buy it already pre-diced, so that saves me a step of processing it. So in my last haul, this is not a very big haul that I got. The reason I ordered was because I needed to buy some fruits for my nephews. I got pineapple, 5 pounds, 5 pounds of strawberries, and 5 pounds of mangoes. I do need to get those peaches back in the freezer, but the couple other things that I got in my Azure haul, I got 5 pounds of organic medium roast whole bean coffee. We drink the majority of our coffee at home. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, you know, I probably should have bought 2 of these, but I only got 1. I'm not doing Azure orders, but every 3 to 4 months or so. So I know that we will run out of this before I place my next order. Now I got 2 new things to me. I am super into fancy salts now, or different salts. I've been using Redmond Real Salt in my kitchen for years and years. And when I went to the coast with you all, I got the Jacobsen sea salt, and I have been having so much fun with that salt. It is incredible. It is harvested off the Oregon coast, and I've been making my own herb salt, and I am just having so much fun with salt. And so I was just browsing and I found this salt. I have never used it. I know nothing about it. All I know is that it looked super interesting. And I bought that Malden salt at Costco recently, and that salt is fantastic. I've been playing around with finishing salts. So when I saw these, I wanted to try them. I just got the smallest bag they had, which are 1 pound each, and I got a natural grain and a fine grain, and I actually want to open these up with you and show you what they look like, because I want to see what they look like. Like I said, I think I've had this order for like a week and a half, and I wanted to open these with you, so I have not opened them. Oh my goodness, okay. So it's almost kind of damp looking. Wow. So this is the natural grain. This salt is harvested, I think, well, I can tell you, it says on the back. It is harvested, it is naturally harvested from the Sea of Cortez in Baja. So that is pretty cool. I'm excited to play around with this salt. So that is the natural grain. And then this is what the fine grain looks like. I'm thinking that this is gonna be more like a table salt consistency or texture. Oh yeah. That's much, much finer. I really like that. So we'll see. I'm gonna start cooking with it and I'll let you know what I think. I'm now starting to become a salt collector. The last 3 things I got were some whole vanilla beans. I completely have no vanilla extract going currently. And so I went ahead and bought these. I didn't even know Azure had these. I figured I would look. Normally I buy them on Amazon. And you all told me of a great resource where you can buy directly from the farmer. And I'm gonna look into that. I had already placed this order, so next time I order vanilla beans, I'm gonna look into that. But I was excited to see some whole vanilla beans from Azure because I had never bought them from them before. And then I got a 32 ounce thing of blackstrap molasses. The last time I bought molasses was in 2019. I bought a 1 gallon thing of molasses, and I make a lot of my own brown sugar, and I love molasses cookies at Christmas time. But it took me so long to get through that 1 gallon, and I didn't want to deal with a 1 gallon. So I went with a little bit smaller of a thing. I have about maybe 1/3 of a cup left from the stuff I bought in 2019. So I went ahead and got a little bit smaller of a container. And then the last thing I got is kelp help. And this is a foliar feed. I've never done a foliar feed on my garden before. I do use a fish fertilizer, and that's what I feed them once a week, my plants with. But this is something a little different. I thought I would give a try. This is from the Pacific Northwest, kelp, soil, and foliar feed concentrate. So you mix 2 ounces of this with, I think, 1 gallon of water. I was reading the directions earlier. Let's see. Yeah, 2 ounces per gallon of water, and then you just kind of spray it on your plants 1 week to 7 days apart. So I'm gonna give this a try and see how it goes. I have never used this before. And so that is my tiny little Azure haul. I need to clean up the salt mess that I made. And then we're gonna get to some fun projects over there. So this freezer is my project freezer, or where I have things that are turned into things. So it is my freezer meal and food preservation freezer. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these sliced peaches in here because I'm gonna freeze dry those as soon as I have a freeze dryer that is available to me. I might as well show you what I have in here. So this is the last of the corn that we put up from last year. I did 150 ears of corn, and I have maybe about 1/3 left. So So I'm probably not gonna put that much corn up next year, probably about 100 ears. Here I have 3 freezer meals. I have 1 pumpkin lasagna, 1 chicken Alfredo lasagna, and 2 chicken parmesans. Not chicken parmesans, these are Parmesan chicken. It's a white sauce dish that I can link the recipe to, and it's fantastic, but it is not a red sauce base like Parmesan chicken. I have 1 thing of muffins, and these are zucchini cookies. These are breakfast items that I actually could probably pull one of these out of the freezer. I have some frozen broth that I didn't feel like not freeze drying, canning. And one thing I do need to do is come in and label these. I bought some, let me show you right here, painter's tape. And I didn't have anything that I could write on these containers. I didn't want to write on the lids because I want to reuse them. And so I got some painter's tape finally, and I can write what the things are. So this is raspberry curd we made together. This is a breakfast casserole. These 4 things are strawberry lemonade concentrate. These are strawberry freezer jam, and that's why I need to label these, because these look very, very similar, but they are 2 very different things. Down here, I've got 2 things of spaghetti sauce left from last year's garden. This is more freezer jam, so I'm gonna put that, you know, see, I don't even know. This looks more like that. That might be the strawberry lemonade concentrate. I'm gonna have to open these before I label them. So that is a problem. Definitely label your things. See, these are strawberry jam, I think. And then I've got lemon curd, strawberry lemonade concentrate, I think. Gosh, don't be like me. Label them before they go into your freezer. This is a peach salsa that is fantastic. I only have 1 of those left. I have 3 salsas from last year's garden and 3 pizza sauce from last year's garden. So we need to go through those. We just made a ton of marinated freezer meals, so I am loaded up on that for quite some time. We have pumpkin from last year's garden, 2 apple pie fillings that are frozen that I need to use up, onions that I bought from a farmer from last year, so I need to use those up, a couple things of gnocchis left. We have some taquitos that we made in a freezer cooking day not that long ago, some frozen vegetables, store-bought from last year's garden, lots of butter and carrots from last year's garden. I did not realize how many things in there. I'm not exactly sure what they are. So as soon as I start this project, I'm gonna go out there and figure out what they are, because this dinner party that I'm having soon, I want to make strawberry lemonade from that concentrate we made, and I don't want to open a freezer jam thinking it's strawberry lemonade concentrate. You will notice there is no lemon juice and lime juice frozen. I already went through all that fresh lemon juice and lime juice that we put up this winter. So I am most definitely going to be doing that again, because clearly I used it and enjoyed it. Now here, I've got 3 projects here. This is raspberry infused vodka. This is an oxmel, which is an elderberry oxmel, and it is fantastic. Before we were going out of town, I was feeling like I was coming down with something, and I had a little bit of this every day, and it nipped it right in the bud. So I'm really happy that I made this. I can link the video where I made this. Now, just so you know, oxmels and elderberry are not for everybody to take, especially if you have an autoimmune disease. So if you take elderberry, make sure you talk with your physician or you do your own research, because there are some autoimmune diseases that you really don't want to take elderberry, because elderberry is an immune booster. So just be forewarned on that. But it actually tastes really good. It has honey, raw apple cider vinegar, elderberries from a neighbor, I think a ton of ginger and cinnamon, and it tastes really delicious. So we're gonna strain that. And then from last year or the year before's garden, I can't remember, I went ahead and I made infused oil with calendula, and I wanna make soap out of this, but I haven't made soap out of it because I haven't wanted to strain it. So we're gonna do that today. So I think what I'm gonna start with, because I don't actually have that many sieves, is I'm gonna go ahead and start with the calendula oil. Look at how beautiful that color is. So this has been sitting for quite some time, infusing the oil. I did dehydrate these calendula flowers before I soaked them in oil. I'm just gonna let that kind of sit there and strain. Next, I'm gonna do the ox smell. I don't want to get this on me because it will stain anything it touches. So a lot of people will make elderberry syrup, but elderberry syrup doesn't have a very long shelf life. And ox smells have a much longer shelf life. That's why I wanted to make that. And an ox smell is basically, I think, like an infusion. You're using honey and vinegar to extract the beneficial properties from something instead of using oil, or to make a tincture, you would use a high proof alcohol. So here I have some cheesecloth that is clean. It's a little bit brown just because I've used it a lot for a lot of different things. And we're going to go ahead and strain our vodka that we have been infusing with these beautiful local organic raspberries. You could use I'm sure you could use a coffee filter too. I'm using the cheesecloth because I want to get a really clear liquid, and there's definitely some cloudiness to this, and you can see if you look in there. It's kind of hard to see maybe. I'll show you when you can see just the raspberries, but when I look in there, I can tell that the raspberries are pretty white. So all the beautiful color has infused into the liquid. That's gonna take a while. While these are straining, I'm not gonna clean it up right now because I'm gonna make more of a mess as I do this. I'll clean it up all at the end. I'm going to label the things in my freezer. So I do know what the pizza sauce and the different salsas are, so I'm not gonna label those, but what I do need to label are the jams and the concentrates, the lemonade concentrates. I finally figured it out. I completely forgot that I also made raspberry jam, freezer jam. So these 4 are raspberry freezer jam that I'm gonna label. These are strawberry lemonade concentrate. I'm actually gonna go ahead and put one of those in my refrigerator because I'm gonna need that in 2 days. I'm gonna label these, and then I need to label the other red container still in the freezer as jam. This probably took me 15 minutes to figure this out. So definitely don't be like me, label right when you get it. I just didn't have a tape, and I didn't want to write on these containers because I like to reuse these containers. I like these for the freezer better than jars because they stack really well. So in that 15 minutes, this hadn't strained all the way through. So I think for the first pass, I went ahead and got a bigger container, and I'm just gonna run it through one layer first. Here you can see a little bit better how the raspberries have kind of lost their color, and the color is now in the liquid. And then I'll run it through one more time with a finer, maybe 2 layers. Let's see how this is looking. You know, that's coming out pretty clear. That looks absolutely clear. So I'm gonna let that sit while I label these. These are all now nicely labeled, so I know what they are, and anyone else getting into this freezer knows what they are, which is fantastic. So we have raspberry, well, this is the raspberry jam, raspberry curd, strawberry freezer jam, and these 2 are the strawberry lemonade concentrate. So I could probably actually put those together, just like that. I also finished straining the ox smell. This is all I got from that. So what I'm gonna do is actually pop this in the fridge, and this will last a very, very long time. I have a turmeric ginger ox smell that I got, I think almost 2 years ago, and I'm almost out of it, and in the fridge it lasts a really long time. This is going to go in a dark cabinet. Next time I make soap, I'm gonna make calendula infused soap. This is gonna go into the pantry, and when I want to make some sort of raspberry cocktail, I can make raspberry cocktail. These are leak-proof lids. I love these lids. I can link these down below for you if you're interested in them. They are my absolute favorite lids. I like that they are leak-proof and that they're not metal sitting against any of these things. I wouldn't want metal sitting against the vodka, the ox smell, or my oil. So I have the freeze dryer going. That is not gonna be done for probably 24 hours. even though the fruit is frozen, some of those pieces were pretty big, so I think it's gonna take a while, and that's no problem at all. We got the freezer organized, both of my freezers organized, and as soon as that fruit comes out, the organs are gonna go in for the dogs, and I've never had flavors cross, but because I'm gonna be gifting those peaches away, I probably won't run the peaches with the organ meat. I'll just do 2 separate runs. I'm gonna do that. And then, wow, so it was a good day. So I harvested all the garlic this morning, so I am tired. I already grilled some meat for dinner, so I don't have to worry about dinner. So I am gonna go sit down and I'm gonna call it a night because I am tired. So I just wanna thank you, friend, for hanging out with me as we got all these little projects buttoned up and started. And I shared with you my adventure of processing chickens and filling my freezer with some locally grown pasture-raised chickens from a family friend, which I'm pretty excited about. It was a pretty awesome experience, and I was grateful to have the opportunity to do that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. If you want to watch some of my other videos, I'll pop them there. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you next time.